Welcome along to Property Tribe's Smart Landlord campaign 2019, running throughout January, and we are helping landlords get off to a flying start this year by championing the cause or the concept of the smart landlord. And when I think of a smart landlord, well, one person that springs to mind is Jason Harris Cohen of Open Property Group, and Jason is a friend of mine, and Jason, I always love talking to you because you epitomise the smart landlord. You've got such good, clear thinking. Tell us a little bit about where you're at with your properties in terms of your professional property buying and also your portfolio.
Okay, so Landlord Buyer is a professional house buying company. We buy directly from landlords, any type of rented property throughout England and Wales, with any type of tenancy in place. And we're actively still acquiring properties at the moment throughout the country, and we're keen to buy more.
And you're buying, at the time of recording, you're buying around 10 properties per month, and then you hold a stock of about over 100 properties. Yeah. And are you kind of doing refurbs as well as part of that as it comes along, or? Yeah,
so we do cyclical refurbishments on the rented stock to make sure they're up to date with latest technology, regulation, energy efficiency, etc. So we're currently evaluating the portfolio, but we generally are looking to scale our buy-to-let business with higher income producing properties. So in light of sort of changing market conditions, we've slightly changed our strategy and also location that we're buying. Where before we were buying a lot more in, say, London and the South East, we're actually not really buying much in London now, and we're buying more in sort of northern towns and cities with sort of high yield potential, and sort of take advantage of infrastructure improvements and technology revolution, sort of tech hubs, the likes of Manchester, where there's a lot of infrastructure improvements, tram lines, etc. taking place. The likes of HS2 in the horizon. It's going to have a huge benefit to Birmingham and the Midlands. So we're actually looking to acquire properties specifically in these regions as well.
I know that you're a massive fan of education and that you believe that landlords should keep up to date with everything. In 2019, that's going to be more important than ever, isn't it?
Certainly. I think it's all about keeping cutting edge of your game, being fully aware, fully evaluating your portfolio, how it might be affected by Section 24, various tax changes. Making sure that you're compliant with energy efficiency ratings. Obviously at the moment we've got the 2-year allowance on having a minimum E rating on the EPC, but soon it's going to change to you can't let any property, re-let an existing property unless it's got the E rating as well. So we've got to be fully aware of what's changing in the marketplace as well, and the likes of selective licensing that's taking place throughout many cities as well.
Very interesting to hear that you're continuing to expand, because a lot of landlords in the current market conditions are either going into hibernation mode, I would put myself in that category, or they're selling up, but you clearly see opportunity.
Well, sort of one of the famous quotes I like from Warren Buffett is, buy when others are fearful, and there's definitely in the likes of a slowing market there's opportunity. So in a good market, it's actually harder for us to buy but easier for us to sell, and the reverse in a bad market. There is opportunity to buy. Yes, it's harder to sell, but if we take a medium long-term view on them properties, then hopefully we'll be able to weather any short-term storms on the horizon.
Now, are you buying in the limited company format or in your sole trader name, or a bit of both?
Everything is bought in our main company, which is Open Property Finance. And again, you've got to be fully aware of the best structure for tax efficiency as well. So definitely seek independent financial advice on any decision, if looking to invest in property.
Definitely, 100%. So any tips for being a smart landlord in 2019? I noticed that you say that you constantly review your portfolio, see where upgrades need to be done. So you're not just sitting there waiting for tenants to ring up and say, oh, there's a problem. You're actively going through the properties on a regular basis to see where you can make improvements?
Yeah, ultimately we want to make sure we've got as maximum sort of loan gross to net rent ratio as possible, so the highest proportion of gross to net rent ratio, and by doing that we've got to minimise our vacancies, our void periods and the maintenance. So ultimately when a property becomes empty, it's about the cyclical refurbishment. It might be upgrading the boiler, it might be some damp proofing, replacing kitchens and bathrooms, and making sure that our properties stand out above others in order to minimise our void periods. So if a property does become empty, we can re-let it as quickly as possible, because ultimately every day it's empty, that's costing us money and we're losing income.
I think it's really interesting that you said about, willingly spending money, because a lot of landlords are reluctant to spend money. Actually, I feel sometimes that I am as well. I would rather wait till the tenant leaves or, it becomes completely necessary. But from what you're saying, actually investing money going forwards and making improvements is actually going to be better in the long run, because you'll achieve higher rents and have less voids.
Yeah, ultimately our tenants are our customers, and we're investing in our houses but also in our tenants. And if we provide a good service and a good property, our tenants will stay with us for a long time, which means we get a higher period of income as well. I think it's all about due diligence initially. In our financial model, when we're buying a buy-to-let, we're looking actually at the gross to net rent ratio, and we deduct about 30% of our gross to net rent to allow for our maintenance, our void periods, annual compliance certificates, upgrades, cyclical refurbishment. So ultimately, if you don't budget that and the boiler breaks down and you haven't got a budget for a new boiler, you're going to become unstuck, because you've got to find the capital to invest £2,000–3,000 in a new boiler. So therefore, if you've covered it in your initial financial modelling, then you're going to be aware of that and able to budget for it and cover the expense if it arises.
Okay, well that's fantastic. Thank you very much for joining me, Jason, and talking to me about what it takes to be a smart landlord in 2019. Really, really great to have your input. Thank you.
Thanks very much.